Good morning, makers, and welcome to Craft Along Saturday mornings. I have a very special guest in the studio with me today. I wanted to introduce you to my pal Hagrid. Here he is. My niece had a special request to bring Hagrid in the show today, and actually he was a very big inspiration for one of the projects that we're going to be creating. Now, he actually might not hang out for too long. He loves eating pipe cleaners, so he might stick around and try to chew on this little dude. So this is my little cardboard bot that we're making a little Halloween edition for today. So if you have our copper circuit kit, you can definitely follow along. And if you don't, that's okay. We have some printables for you to use as well. So welcome, Hagrid, and thanks for being in the studio. He loves to jump up on my table and eat all my craft supplies. So that's why I have to keep them all organized and put away. So before we get started today, we have a contest to draw for. So last week we had our bookbinding show, and we had a little contest running throughout the week. If you sent us a picture of your finished book, then you were entered into our draw, which we're going to be doing today. So if you're here live with us, please say hello in the chat. We want to know who's here watching, and we want to know where you're watching from. So what city you're tuning in from. And so please take a minute to say hello and let us know your name and where you're from. And we are coming to you live from Kitchener, Ontario. If you found us from the internet, if you've never been to our camp and you're new to Mindful Makers, I just want to say welcome and thanks for tuning in. So before we get started with our project, we want to do our draw. So I'll just ask that Carissa get ready for that. She's in the chat today too. And I want to show you what we're going to be drawing for this week. So just for showing up today and participating in our live show, you're eligible to win a prize at the end of today's show. So just stick around. If you have to leave, just come back and watch the video later to find out who the draw winner is. So we have a couple prizes today. This one is all about electronics. So this is a wonderful coloring book made by Adafruit, and we've got it printed on beautiful paper. And so it teaches you about different types of electronics, and it's got some beautiful illustrations. So this also comes with a Learn to Solder kit. So soldering is a great skill. We teach it at camp. But you will need to have your own soldering iron to do this kit. And what it is, it's a printed circuit board that we had made for camp. And it's got a switch and a battery on the back, and it lights up. So we'll be including a very special LED in the soldering kit, and it actually flickers like a little candle. So it's kind of like those little tea lights you can get at the dollar store. And it comes all disassembled, so you get to do the fun part and learning how to put it together, but we'll have some instructions to help you figure it out. Don't worry. So that's the prize pack for this week. So you have 2 chances to win. Stick around to the end of the show, participate in the chat, and you're eligible. Otherwise, if you're tuning in after the show has ended, anytime throughout the week, send us a picture of your finished project, and you will also be entered to win. Okay, and here's our handle. So if you're not sure how to tag us on social media, we just wanted to throw that up there. And so that's a great way to enter the draw if you do share online. All right, so I'm going to take you over to our table view and show you what we have going on today. So if you've participated in our summer kit, you probably recognize these little bots. This little lady is the one I created in the tutorial. This was my first ever robot. But today we're going to be taking this and putting a little bit of a Halloween spin on it. I'm going to put those off to the side and show you the samples I made last night. I'm very, very excited. So, this one I have to put against the cardboard here so you can see a little better. But this is my little mummy dude. I'm just so pleased with how he turned out. And he's got glowing eyes that are glowing through the very special material we're using. Everybody has this, so you can definitely make the mummy today if you have a little bit of toilet paper. Oh, and I'm just checking in with the chat, and we have our winner for our draw is Eden. Congratulations, Eden, and thanks for participating. That's great. And so here's another couple samples. So the cat is by special request also from my niece Sophie. She asked if we could do a black cat on today's show. And also we have a spider. So there are just a few different ways that you can work with the kit and the materials. So you'll notice this cat doesn't have any lights. So this is an option for you guys watching. If you don't have our kit and you don't have any electronics, you can still participate. So what we've included in the link in the description and also on our website is the link to this pattern. So this is just the pattern to make a cardboard box. And these are really common. You can also find them online if you're looking for different dimensions. But this is a good size for our project. And yeah. So if you have the kit, you'll also need this page, okay? So this one you have to get the kit to get access to this page here. But the first step, everyone's going to do all the same, and that is cutting out our cardboard. Okay, I hope you guys are all going to craft along with me today, and don't feel if you're not keeping up with the pace that it's just I have to move a little quickly today to get through all the steps, okay? So don't worry if you're behind. You can always rewatch the video later. So we're going to need a scrap of cardboard, your template that's been cut out, and something to trace with, like a pencil or a marker. Ooh, and it's going to make a spider. Fantastic. The spider is actually kind of the best bang for your buck because it only uses one LED and it uses the level 1 circuit. You can also modify the spider to turn it into a bat, which would be quite easy to do with some pipe cleaners or construction paper. And ooh, this piece of cardboard is actually perfect size for my template. Awesome. So whenever you're tracing, you always want to try to use an existing edge on your cardboard. Makes it easier, means less cutting. Just go ahead and trace around it. Hi, Julian and Sophie. Thanks for tuning in this morning. I can't wait to see your finished projects. Okay, so don't forget to mark the score line here. So just do a couple dashes for where we need to score this. And I just want to give you a little tip. If you decide you want to make a whole bunch of these, you might want to make a more durable template. So this is just a piece of box board. So from a cereal box, I just traced it on top and cut it out. And this is what I used to cut all of the ones that I made for my samples because I needed like 10 of them. So it made it a lot faster for me to cut those out. So that's just my little quick tip. It makes it more durable too, so it'll last longer. And now you have some options for cutting. So if you're an adult and you're doing this, you could probably use a box cutter as long as you're using a cutting mat. And oh, Agatha's going to do the cat. Wonderful. Or you can use your cardboard saw that comes with our essentials kit. So the one thing I always remind people of with the cardboard saw is to look for the side that says canary, because that is the side with the teeth. So if you're trying to cut from the opposite side that doesn't have the word canary on it, it's not as effective in cutting. But before you can start cutting, we also want to score the lines. So you can use any ruler you have. If you have our kit, you have something that looks similar to this, which is just a thick piece of cardboard. And this is good for using with your saw. So you just line it up, take the side with the words, and I've marked it with some tape to remind me. And you can just first score all of the marker lines that you've made. And scoring before you cut makes it so the saw wants to follow that groove. So while you're scoring, you can score the fold lines as well. So I'm scoring right across here. Okay, scoring means you're only cutting through like the first layer of paper. So it makes it easier to do your through cuts. Okay, and I need to score this one as well. And I think I've got them all. Great. Awesome. And then Sophie's going to make a spider. Wonderful. These are actually fun. So what I was thinking about this, you could put a string and you could hang this from somewhere in your home and it'd be kind of like creepy. You could do a ghost, you could do a bat. It'd be kind of a fun thing to just have up in the house for Halloween. Okay, so now I'm using my saw and I'm cutting along the marker lines. I love these saws because they're quite safe to use for kids. They have that serrated edge, so it cuts the cardboard really nicely and cleanly. Because scissors sometimes scissors just aren't the right tool for cutting cardboard. So when we discovered these saws, we were very excited. When you're cutting your cardboard, it's always good to start from an outside edge. It's the easiest place to start with your saw. And if you have to do an inside cut, just kind of poke it until it punches through. Yes, Carissa loves the cardboard saws. I love them too. As you can see, it does take a little while. So if you are skilled enough and trained to use a box cutter, it'll go a little faster for you. But this is great for learning. There we go. The inside cuts are harder. Okay, put your scraps away. So you're going to need, depending on what you're making, if you're doing a 2-block design, go ahead and cut out your second block. But I'm going to jump ahead and work on the example for how to assemble a single block. I've already pre-cut a whole bunch more for a little later. Okay, so I'm set. And oops, I forgot to score these ones. So no worries, I'll just go back, line it up. So scoring makes the folding go way easier because it gives it somewhere to bend, right? So you can bend all of your score lines until you have something that looks like this. So we're going to assemble a little box. Now we're going to use some tape. And this is my most favorite tape. It's a brown paper tape. I call it magical tape. We use it often also at camp. And I'm also using a special set of scissors. Now, not everyone will have these, but if you are, if you make a lot and you want to have a new tool, I recommend getting yourself some non-stick scissors because they're best to use with tape. You might notice if you're using just regular scissors that the blade will get gummed up over time. And if that happens, you can just use like a rubbing alcohol to clean it. But I love using these non-stick scissors. I'm going to cut my tape in half just so it goes a little further for me because I don't need like a giant piece. And then you're just going to start to assemble the edges. Okay. So you want to leave one flap open. I cut this a little too long. I like the brown tape also because you can paint on top of it and the paint won't flake off like if you were to use duct tape or like a packing tape or scotch tape. Because it's made of paper, it's okay to use with paint. So that's another benefit of this stuff. So when you get the Essentials cardboard kit, you get a full roll of this stuff, and this will last you a long time. Okay. It's very strong and very sticky as well. So I'm just adding tape on the 4 edges of the box to assemble my cube. You could also do this step with hot glue. You just have to be extra careful. Okay, that's what it should look like once it's assembled. And the next thing we want to do is make our circuit. So if you have our kit, you can go ahead and get started by assembling this one. So these are the things that come inside. You've got a meter of copper tape, some pipe cleaners, a straw, and all of the components that we're going to be using. So you want to start with the tape. And using copper tape can be tricky, so it's a skill to learn. But if you take your time and go slow, it shouldn't be too difficult. Okay. And I recommend starting with the level 1 because it's just straight lines. If you look at the level 2 circuit, you'll notice you have to turn corners, which does get tricky, but it's not impossible. It's very doable. Okay, so when you're working with the copper tape, you want to just peel up about 1 centimeter to start. You don't want to undo all of the backing tape because the tape likes to stick to itself. So just unpeel it just a tiny bit just to get you started. And then you can line it up with these rectangles. And we're just kind of following along the tracks here. Okay, and I'm using my finger to push, and I'm peeling away the backing as I go. Then when you get to the end, you can cut it. I like to use my fingernail to smooth it out, any wrinkles, and then take your tape again and fill in the next line. Okay. So that's pretty straightforward. Next thing we want to do is cut it out. Okay. Awesome. So you'll notice that there are these dotted lines, and what those mean are just the lines that we're going to be folding. So you could fold them right now or you could fold them later. It doesn't actually matter. But just so you know, that's what those are for. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is glue this onto our box. So grab your glue stick. Okay. And this is how it's going to work. So the flappy part is going to be the front, okay? And the LED is going to be sticking up from the bottom, but on the inside. So when you take your template, we want the LED square to be on the bottom. Okay, so if this is the door, this is the bottom, okay, and there is the LED. And when we glue it, I'm going to flip it over to the back. The battery will be at the back side. Okay. So I'm going to just cover the whole bottom face with glue and stick this on like so. Now, when we flip it over to glue the battery side, you do want to fold that triangle. You don't want glue on this side because this is our sort of our switch. This needs to be able to be movable. So, but you do want to have glue on the triangle. So you could put it right on the paper, or you could just kind of eyeball it right onto the cardboard. And it's always best to have glue on both surfaces, like we learned last week in our bookbinding, because glue on both surfaces makes a better bond. Okay, so that's sort of what it should look like. There we go. Put your glue away right away. Don't let it dry out. Now the next tool we're going to use is one of my favorite tools that I kind of made up. It's called the pokey tool. It is just a cork and a nail, and it's been sliced open so that the nail doesn't poke out the other side, and hot glued and taped together. So this is also another tool that comes with the Essentials kit, and we just love it. We use it at camp often. It's great for poking holes in cardboard. So what you're going to do is you're going to poke the hole in the LED spot, and you might have to give it a wiggle And to make this hole bigger, we're going to take a pencil. So I'm going to find my Mindful Maker's pencil, and we're going to make it a little bit bigger because it has to be big enough for our LED to fit into. Yes, Carissa. See, Carissa's learning stuff too. Adhesives on both surfaces make a better bond. So you want to test fit your LED to make sure that it will fit into the hole. Okay, nice and snug. And this is where we get to talk about polarity. Ooh. So in your baggie of LEDs, you have 6 different LEDs, 6 different colors. I'm just going to show you them here. And you've got your coincell batteries. So you only need 1 battery per circuit. And we're going to test out the LEDs. So 2 of them are clear, and that's because one of them is really special. One of them is white, and the other one does a fun thing. It flashes different colors. Okay, so the way you test your LEDs is you take a look at the legs, and one leg is always longer than the other, and the longer one is always positive. Okay, so that's the rule to remember. Now, when you look at your battery, the battery also has some markings. So the one in your kit will probably say PK cell CR2032, 3 volts lithium battery, and it has a plus sign. So always look for that plus sign. And then you're going to just kind of sit your LED with one leg on either side of the coin, and it should light up. So if you try it and it doesn't light up, it just means you got to switch it around. So this is really important when we're assembling our circuit because you have to have the legs touching the proper sides or else it won't light up. That's the way the LEDs work. They have a polarity. So what we're going to do is choose whatever LED color you want. So if you are going to be making two bots or 2 sculptures, you're going to want to decide like which 2 LEDs are going to be part of the level 2 circuit, because you do need 2. And not all of the colors work together. So that's one thing I want to make sure you guys know about. And the way to test it is, again, just to take your battery. And let's say I wanted to do like blue, for example. So great. But then I want to see what's going to work with the blue. So I'm going to try it with the yellow and see if they both light up. So they don't. So what happened was once I put the yellow on, the yellow doesn't light up. But if I take the blue off, the yellow will light up, and also I'll just try a different one. So the yellow and the red will work together. I'm being flaky. And then I'm going to try the green and the green. So these 3 work together, red, yellow, green, but they won't work with the blue or the white. So you kind of have to choose. Blue and white works well, or green, yellow, and red. And the green and the yellow actually are kind of similar in color. So if you want to make it more matchy-matchy. So just make sure your LEDs are going to work before you decide to put them in your circuit. Okay, so that's one thing you have to be aware of. Now, for my spider, I just decided to use the red. And I have it so that, actually I can show you the inside of my spider. So it's just the one red LED on the inside. And because I poked the holes, this is why I said it's the best bang for your buck, because you can get the look of having 2 eyes, but only using one LED, and it's glowing from the inside. And this obviously looks better when it's a little bit darker in the room. So I'm actually curious to try, I'm going to try the yellow this time. So I'm going to take the LED and I'm ready to install it in the box. And we're going to we're going to do the splits with our LED. So we're going to take one leg and bend it down, and then take the other leg and bend it down. Now, when you do this, it's often hard to keep track of which leg is longer because they're not next to each other anymore. So there is one thing you can look for, and that's inside of the lens. You'll notice like there's 2 kind of triangles. And when you look at it closely, you can probably see it better than on camera. but there's one of the triangles is smaller than the other. So the smaller one is the positive. Okay, so that's one way to remember. So I'm going to put it into that hole I poked and push it down so that the legs are touching the copper tape. And you can use more copper tape to secure it, but what I find is that sometimes this just isn't sticky enough and it'll like lift up. So you can certainly put a little piece of copper tape right on top of the leg to kind of make that connection, or you can just go ahead and use the brown tape. And I like using the brown tape for this step because it is a lot stickier, and over time it's less likely to peel up and to make that connection lost. So that's the one thing about copper circuits, is they're not super durable, but they are great for learning because you don't need to use like hot tools. But you can actually solder on top of copper tape. So if you do have a soldering iron at home and you want to take this to the next level and make it really, really robust, you can actually do a solder joint right on top of the tape. Because it is made of copper, it's metal, it will stick. That's pretty cool. But for those of you at home that don't have a soldering iron and just want to do the tape method, just try to use like a really sticky tape and use your fingernail to push it down. Okay, so that should be nice and secure. The next thing you want to do is install your battery. So batteries as well, we mentioned, have a polarity, a positive and a negative. And you'll notice on the template that there is a positive and a negative. Okay, so that means that the plus here needs to be facing down and touching the copper tape. So when you have it installed, you should not see any writing. And you're going to need some skinny tape. So masking tape works, but in your kit, you also have this black tape, which is already a good size. But you can use Scotch tape, any kind of tape will be fine. And there's a little area for the masking tape to go into. So the whole point of this step is really just to get the battery to not fall off. But you need to leave most of it exposed so that when we fold down our switch here, it lights up. So it works. Okay, and if it's not lighting up, one thing you can check is that these are really well stuck down. Because remember, if the metal's not touching the metal well enough, the electricity won't want to flow. And then also make sure the battery is touching the copper, okay? So to secure that, what we like to use is just a rubber band. Oh, Anna's gonna have a Halloween party. Love it. Hopefully you'll make, maybe you'll be inspired to make more than one. Okay. So elastic band works well to keep the tension and to keep it lit up. But if you want to save your battery, you can always just undo it, undo the flap like that, and just store it that way so you're not wasting the power in the battery, okay? So that is the simple circuit. Now, if you want the light to shine through, you're going to need to poke some holes. So again, we're going to go back to our pokey tool. We're going to decide where the eyeballs are going to go. And what did I say this was going to be? Did I say it was going to be a ghost or a bat? I don't remember. I think it would be cute as a ghost. I'm going to try adding some paper, some toilet paper to it. So you want a lot of light to come through. So you can use your pencil to make your holes bigger. Another trick is, if you want it even bigger than that, is to take your scissors and give it a little twist, and that will make your holes even larger. So like so. You know, Halloween's my favorite time for making decorations and dressing up. So next week, you'll probably see me in a costume just to get into the spirit. There's so many fun things you can make for Halloween. I just love it so much. So I was really excited for today. Okay, so there's my eyeballs. I'm going to close this circuit back up so I can test it, see how it looks. Pretty bright in here with all the studio lights on, so I think it'll look good when it's a little dimmer. Awesome. So that's your level 1 circuit, and if you want to go ahead and add like some pipe cleaners for arms, you can use the ones from your kit, but you'll probably need extra because This is only enough to make like 2 arms and legs, and a spider has 8 legs, right? So you might need to supplement with some other supplies, but that's okay. You can get creative. See what you can come up with. See if you can make a very unique design. I really want to see if you guys come up with your own designs too. So for the spider, you could just poke 4 holes just like that, and you can feed the legs in, but you want to secure them on the inside, so you can open it up and fold down like about 1 centimeter, and then put some tape on top of that to secure it. So I'll just show you quick. But I said I wanted to turn this into a ghost, so I don't actually need any pipe cleaners, but just to show you, that makes it really nice and secure. And then you can close it back up. I might come back to dress up my ghost later because I want to show you guys how to make the level 2 circuit before we run out of time. We're about halfway through our show today. So I'll put this off to the side and we're going to work on circuit number 2. So I'll grab that template again and we'll work on adding the copper tape. Oh, Harry Potter costume. Great idea. How did you know? I might be able to put a Harry Potter costume together for next week. I actually have a large bin of costume supplies. So we'll see what I come up with. Okay, so for now we're going to be working on the level 2 circuit, which is a little trickier. So I'm going to teach you how to turn a corner properly. So again, we're going to start the same way where we just peel up a little bit and we unpeel the backing layer as we go. But once you get to that corner, you're actually going to turn your tape so that it's sort of in line with the direction that you want to go. I'm going to like push down on it, and then I want to bend it back and push down. So what that's doing is it's turning a corner without ripping the tape or breaking that connection. Oh no, I totally wasn't paying attention and I went off track. That's okay. This tape's pretty delicate, so I'm just going to try to get it back on track. Don't try to peel it up once it's stuck down because it's likely going to tear. Okay, I'm back on track. It's okay. See, if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. So I'm going to go all the way down until this turning area. We're going to do a similar thing where we kind of bend it back. And just take your time with it. It's okay if it gets kind of crinkled. Try not to break that connection if possible. But I will show you on the next line. If it does rip, it's okay. This tape has conductive adhesive, so that it will still make the connection. So if you, for example, get to here and you're trying to turn the corner and it breaks, it's okay. I'm going to break it on purpose. And the only thing you have to know to keep the connection is that it needs to overlap. Okay, so I'm just kind of exaggerating the overlap here. It needs to touch really, really well to make sure that the electricity will flow. So the reason we teach you the turning the corner method is because not all copper tapes have adhesive, or like the sticky side is not conductive. So some are and some are not. So depending on where you get it from, if you get it from the kit, we provide the adhesive, conductive adhesive type. Cool. Okay, go with your fingernail, the back of your fingernail, to smooth all the wrinkles out. And we're good to go. Now I'm going to trim around. Yes, there's always a fix, Carissa, right? Always a way to make it work. And get back on track. Super. So you're going to need another one of your cardboard cutouts for the next step. And we are going to glue this to the inside. So there's actually two ways you can fold your box. I actually prefer to have the cut lines on the outside because it just like folds nicer. So make sure when you're gluing your template, it's the side that you don't see the cuts, if that makes sense, okay? We're going to be gluing this like so. And we're going to end up folding this last section over the edge. So you can pre-fold it. You can go ahead and pre-fold the flap as well. So you're ready to go. And grab your glue stick. Now you got me thinking about Harry Potter costumes and who I might want to dress up as. I guess I'll have to see what I have outfits for. Okay, so it goes here. And then this last bit gets glued to the back. But again, we don't want to glue the triangle, so make sure we're only gluing this section here. Like so. And when you're making the double circuit, it doesn't have to be a 2-block design. You can actually use this as a single block as well. That works too. Next thing we need are our LEDs, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna check my notes here. Yes, we're gonna poke the LED holes. So we've already done that. Make sure you're poking into the if you're poking into the table, make sure you have something that will protect it so you're not wrecking your table. Poking into some scrap cardboard works well. Make the holes a little larger with your pencil. Okay, and now it's time to choose your LEDs. So remember, not all LEDs work together. So I'm going to use my white and my blue. You're going to need a second battery for this. So just make sure, pre-test them before you stick them in. So those are both lighting up. Fantastic. And now also pay attention to the plus and the minus because those legs need to be done in the right order. So long leg, short leg, fold down. And then right away, I'm gonna stick it in, and you gotta make sure it's going to reach. So you might have to scooch the legs around. Has to touch the copper tape. And then got my long leg here, short leg here, and then pop it in. Okay, and I just move the legs so that they're touching well. Very shiny. Nearly headless bot. Ooh, this guy's nearly headless. I love it. This could be Sir Nicholas, right? Nearly headless Nick. I love it already. Okay, once you've got your LEDs in, you can go ahead and tape them down. Get them so they don't pop out on you. See, I have a theory that every craft can be turned into a Harry Potter project. Okay. And we're going to install our battery next. So remember, the plus side goes down, and we need some skinny tape. Just enough to hold it in. Okay, here's a moment of truth. Did I do it right? Yay! It works. Fantastic. So for the level 2, make sure you're doing all of this assembling while it's still flat, because it's going to be hard once it's folded into a box to reach in there. So that's my tip for you. Now we are ready to assemble. Get some tape ready. And you can tape it into a cube. One more side. Okay, and then the back flap is going to stay open because you have to be able to access the inside to fix your LEDs if the connection does, if the tape does end up lifting. So it's always good to have that access panel. So that's your finished head. And now to keep the lights on, that's what the giant paper clip is for. You can use an elastic band, but the elastic band will show. So that's why we use the giant paper clip. And we're going to basically just kind of fit it over top of the battery. This is going to keep the pressure. I find actually if you take the side that's the smaller loop of the clip and you make that on the outside, it just works a little better. Okay, so just fiddle with it until it's working like reliably for you. It worked right away for me, so you might have to bend the clip, make it work for you. And one other thing I like to do is just add like a tiny piece of tape just to keep this closed, and so it's easy to like open and close later. But there is your finished level 2 circuit. And now you can decide how you're going to make this into a fun Halloween decoration. So for the mummy, for example, all I did was I took a second box. There's no LEDs in it, so you can just take one of your templates and assemble. And I'll show you how to add the neck, because that's that could be a little tricky. And just so you guys can see all the steps. There we go. So I'm just going to assemble this box into a cube. For a cat, you should use yellow and green. Yellow and green eyes. Yes, I agree. Hagrid has yellow eyes, so it is a good match. For this cat that I made, you'll notice that there are no LEDs, like I mentioned before. So all I did was I used some masking tape to cut out the shapes. And then I could use markers right on top. So that's a good way to add some easy decorations to your sculpture. And I also used construction paper to wrap it. So instead of painting it or using markers, you can always use paper and glue strips on top. If we have time, I'll show you how to do that, how I did it. Okay, so don't make your box all the way closed because we need access to make the straw go in. You're going to decide which part is the top. So poke a hole and then make it bigger. Ooh, all of your cats have green eyes. I wonder if cats can have other colors other than green and yellow. Curious. So for the straw, we have to do a little bit of cutting. And we're going to make like a little attachment point. So for this, we're going to take our scissors and insert them into the straw about 1 centimeter and make a little slit. And then you just rotate your straw, make another slit, rotate, make another slit. So you can do this 4 times, 3 or 4 times. And then when you bend it down, you should have like a little propeller looking type thing. Okay, so this is going to be where we'll tape it. Carissa has seen cats with blue eyes. Ooh, oh yeah, I guess like certain breeds, right? I'm thinking like Siamese maybe. One other thing you could do with your straw is you could actually cut it on an angle. This is going to make it easier to insert it into that hole. Because we have to insert it from the inside, it can be a little tricky. So I find that cutting it makes the process a little easier. So once it's in, you can push it all the way until those bump up against the box, and then guess what? More tape. Lots of tape in this project. So we just want to secure it with a couple pieces. Just right on top. There you go. So should be nice and secure. You can always trim the neck if you want it shorter, but I recommend trying it out first. Let's see. I'm gonna try it with my mummy head because it's already poked. There you go. So it's a little bobblehead, nearly headless ghost. That's how you add a neck. If you want to know how to add arms and legs, quite simple to do as well. So I like to add the arms on the sides. Poke a hole, put your pipe cleaner in, and bend it down a little bit on the inside and add some tape. If you don't do the tape, it'll just pull out, right? There's an arm, and then you can bend it. I like to give it a little bit of a twist to create kind of like a circle at the end. And you can bend it different ways. I'll add another arm here. I think these would be really fun as monsters too, because you could just make it look like whatever you want. Awesome. For the legs, I just add them to the inside. I don't poke holes. So more tape tabs. And you can just take your pipe cleaner, put a little tab of tape at the end. And then I like to put it into like the inside corner. So kind of like that. And that way when it's closed, it'll just kind of poke out. Like so. And you can give it a bit of a bend. Make it look like it's sitting. Do another one. Awesome. So we have a little bit of time left, and I can show you an easy way to wrap it with paper. So if you want to give it some color, but you don't want to get the paints out, like you don't feel like making a big mess that way, you can wrap it in construction paper. So that's the way I made my kitty cat. But you can do this for any color. So I had the idea maybe I would make a monster one. So I'm going to grab some construction paper. So it's just your typical construction paper. It's actually a good size for our dimensions. And you're going to need a ruler just to measure it. The design that we're working with is 2.5 inches. Maybe a little larger if... It might be a little bit larger, so you can always cut your paper a little wider. But measure like the width of and whatever your box ended up being. And we're just going to cut strips of paper from like the short way. So I'll make it 2.5 and maybe like an extra tiny bit. Just to make sure I get good coverage. And then we will cut that strip of paper, and we want 2 of them, so I'll just go ahead and fold it where I made that line, and I'll cut them so I get 2 pieces. Yes, this is a great way to use like scrapbook paper, or to use some printmaking paper. So I did have an idea yesterday when I was making my samples, and I went into my jelly paper designs, and I cut out this template to try and use this to cover. But I found that because when you fold up the box, it ends up getting like a little bit bigger. So using the template as is ends up being like a little bit too small. So that didn't really work out, but you can still use like any decorative paper you have. Like this would like make a really cool looking monster, I think. Okay, so now I have my 2 strips. Let's see, I'm gonna cover this little guy. No, I'm gonna cover this little guy. Okay, because that one has the circuit. So this works well for boxes that don't have circuits in them. I'm gonna take my little arms and legs out and I'll add them back in later because they're gonna get in the way of the wrapping. Ooh, unicorn. See, so many great ideas. Or llamas are still popular. You do all the trendy animals. Okay, you don't even have to do animals or characters. You could do like try to do a haunted house or something spooky like that. Okay, so I'm going to, for this you actually have to close your box. You won't be able to access the inside anymore because we are kind of wrapping it, right? Llama. I'm going to leave the straw, so I'll show you how to wrap it with the straw still attached. So essentially what we're doing is we're wrapping the box like so, and we're going to add glue, and then the second strip will cover the rest of it. So it works out with just 2 strips of paper. Frankenbox, yes, I love all these ideas. You're on a roll, Carissa. Pumpkin, yes, pumpkin would be wonderful too. And if you have those little tea lights, you can just pop one of those tea lights in. And make sure you have holes for the light to come through. Okay, what am I doing here? I'm gonna go this way. Yeah, so I'm gonna wrap it. Glue on 3 sides. Wrap it. And if you're using construction paper, it's usually works out so you have these little tabs. Wrap around the other side. If your glue's not sticking well, you could always use a bit of tape too. Or like I said, glue on both surfaces. Okay, and then the other one, because we have to get around that straw, we're going to need to cut a slit. So just put your paper next to it and you're going to kind of mark where the straw is. So I know my straw hole needs to be here. And so I'm gonna have to cut this away. I'll just do a little slit and then cut the space of the straw away so it will sit nicely. Like that. Okay, except we want to go this way and we're going to wrap it around the other side. Super. So that's an easy way to get some color. You could just go right on top with markers too though. Permanent markers probably work better on the tape, but washable markers are fine too on just the cardboard. Use what you got. Or you could go straight for the toilet paper. Start wrapping in that. Okay, and we do have a few minutes left, so while we are kind of wrapping up, and I'm going to show you like one last thing, maybe I'll get Carissa to work on getting our draw done for all of our participants today. In the live chat, we'll do our end of show draw, but don't worry, you still have a chance to win a prize if you're tuning in after our broadcast. Okay. I think I'm going to cut that little strip off. Don't want that extra showing. I'll just put extra glue. Oh, here we go. And there was one more thing I wanted to show you. Oh, yes, I want to show you how I work with the toilet paper. So if you decide you want to do the mummy or a ghost or something and use the TP, you're just going to take off, let's see, about an arm's length, I would say, is good. And then you'll want to kind of bundle it up. So just kind of fold it, wrap it. And we're going to cut this so it ends up being like skinnier pieces that are easier to work with. So it's kind of like making streamers for crafting. Ooh, drum roll. Our winner today is Agatha. Wow, congrats, Agatha. So you are winner of our electronics kit. Fantastic. We'll get in touch with you. Make sure you could send us an email and we'll get into your details and send you your prize this week. Woohoo! Congratulations! Okay, so I'll just show you really quickly how I worked with the TP. Maybe I'll do it on this guy since he doesn't have anything. And you can just use your glue stick. And I like to do it in sections, so I'll just kind of cover one side with glue and a little bit on the edge, because I'm going to work on just covering the top first. So get your streamers. For some reason my plies have separated, so just use one ply at a time. And this works out really nice with the perforations on the squares, because I can just rip it and it's like the perfect size for my box. So every time I add a strip, I'm overlapping it. And you can always just, if it's not sticking well, just go back and add a little more glue. So you'll want to do the top first. And then if you're doing the head, we can start wrapping all the way around. But it's tricky when there's pipe cleaners in place. So you kind of have to make a decision. If the pipe cleaners are going to stay, they have to be on there while you do your wrapping, because it ends up closing up the box. You can't get in there later to add them. So there's kind of an order of operations. But the TP is maneuverable. Like you can kind of work around it. Okay. There we go. I'm going to add some here. Oh, and actually, yeah, that's a good point. I just noticed I didn't end up covering the back of my mummy's head because I still want that flap accessible. So make sure when you wrap, you're only going around 3 sides. And leave the back open, or uncovered, I should say. So more glue. There you go. So just keep going with it until you're happy with the look. You can always layer it, give it more texture, and kind of bunch up the paper. I think it's fun. Cool. So you can just kind of work around your pipe cleaner if you have one. Awesome. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our show today. I just want to, again, thank everyone for coming and tuning in. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend and that you'll come and join us next week for another craft. So next week we're gonna be announcing that theme on Monday. And so you'll find out all the things that you need to get ready for the coming week. So thanks again, everyone, for tuning in with Saturday Morning Craft Along, and we will see you again soon. Bye.